everyone! Welcome back to another 2v2 battle. This is going to be Bretonnia and Warriors of Chaos versus the Empire and Vampire Counts. There was a suggestion to do a theme called the Errantry Wars, I believe it was called, where you bring a lot of the lower tier knights to try and prove themselves. So that's kind of what we did here. I changed it a little bit because I couldn't stand just bringing a bunch of Knights of the Realm. So we brought 6 Knights of the Realm, 2 Paladins, 1 Damsel over here in the forest. We have the King Lewin overlooking this battle to see how well his knights do with his honor guard of Pegasus Knights. And in Vanguard deployment, we do have 2 mounted yeomen. Again, just because I didn't want all knights, I wanted some kind of something else. So we have 2 mounted yeomen in Vanguard deployment. My ally brought a whole lot of Chaos Warriors backed up by Trolls and then 2 Chaos Marauders. We have a Chaos Sorcerer of Death on this one and an Exalted Hero. My enemy brought 2 Pistoliers in Vanguard deployment. I never see these really, so I wasn't expecting them, but they're going to be coming out of the forest here in just a moment. The other units that my enemy have, we have 3 Hellstorm rocket batteries, we have 4 Grave Guard, 3 Skeletal Warriors, a whole line of swordsmen backed up by crossbows. We have a generic Vampire Lord on the Dragon, 4 Fellbats, and then 3 Blood Knights, which we couldn't see obviously because they were deployed in the forest. So these Pistoliers at the very start are coming out of the forest, and this is not something I'm used to watching out for. So in the beginning of this fight, I was just managing my yeomen, so my view looked like this, and I wasn't looking at the minimap. So that's why these Pistoliers are going to get a couple shots in as my ally starts moving their forces up. They're just going to shoot into the sides of these knights. Yep.
Foes of the Emperor, let us show our hammers.
Now, Pistoliers are not armor piercing, even though they are guns. So they're not going to do like as much damage if these were Outriders. Oh my god, if these are Outriders shooting in the sides of knights, that would be terrible. This is when I do notice that they are shooting me, so we immediately charge, and we're going to chase them into the corner of the map. Meanwhile, our yeomen are not really doing too much. I am trying to get close enough to the forest to see if there's anything in there. Just looking at the army of the Vampire Counts, I know that there's something hiding. I didn't know it was 3 Blood Knights, but I do know there's something there. Our ally is going to get peppered by Hellstorm rocket batteries. And here we have chased the Pistoliers who were on skirmish mode, from what I can tell by the way they ran. So we're going to chase them into the corner. And these Pistoliers have nowhere to go. And there we go. Those 2 Pistoliers are now routed off the field. My ally is almost engaged with their front line with these Trolls. We're bringing up our 3 Knights on this flank along with our Pegasus Knights. This is when we spot the Blood Knights in the forest, so I immediately pull out, because I'm like, holy crap. 3 Blood Knights are very scary. The crossbow fire is going to do a lot of damage to these unarmored Trolls. But you can see they are going to run right over the Skeletal Warriors. They don't provide much resistance for Trolls. Here comes their Empire Lord. The Blood Knights have now moved out of the forest and they're just kind of waiting in there on the hill. Right now I'm getting some shots in with our mounted yeomen to the sides of the swordsmen. Our Pegasus Knights are going to be charging into the Fellbats. I'm going to wait for the King to get back over to this area before we try and take on the Vampire Lord. But I want to try and shut these bats down as soon as possible because I knew they were going to be going for my mounted yeomen. Over here. So, alright, so these Blood Knights were just stationed on this hill, okay? You may say it's suicide to charge Knights of the Realm into a charging Blood Knights, and I will agree with you on that one. but I wanted to see how well they would do against the knights if they weren't charging at all. The problem is, I sent these knights to charge them before they started moving. I thought my enemy wasn't really paying attention to them, so I was like, oh, I'm going to sneak in a charge and get some damage. But then at the last moment, these Blood Knights end up charging, but by that time I was micromanaging over here because I am, two separate groups of knights and yeomen and heroes, so I have a really hard time with micromanaging all over the field, and on top of that have a really hard time micromanaging Cav. So I did not see that at the last moment these Blood Knights charged me, but they charged. So they got the charge bonus off against my really low tier Knights of the Realm.
Come, peasants! Fight for your lords!
Yep. Pegasus Knight's doing pretty good up there, though. Here we have a group of zombies being cast by the Vampire Lord. And yeah, that's it. Those Knights of the Realm are already dead. So I was trying... This is actually really good on the enemy here. I don't know if they plan on this or not. But I was going to charge into these Graveguard and then get out. But then they summoned the zombies right on top of us and are kind of holding us in place right now, which was a good move. My damsel is being hounded by these fell bats. I'm trying to move her up here to start casting some spells. I think we're going to get one off.
Very well.
I think. Yeah! Look at all that disruption! So I was trying to stop the crossbows from firing because they were pounding the front line of my allies, so I wanted to stop that. My knights over here are starting to charge the Graveguard, and we're going to get around the flank and try and get into the back. Over here, the king, my ally, and my Pegasus Knights are all against this Vampire Lord in the sky. He also got Spirit Leech, so he is not doing too well. My second Knights of the Realm group over here got charged by those Blood Knights because they were just tied down by those zombies that were summoned right on top of them. And that's when my third group of Knights that were over here were like, nope, we're done. So I'm going to move them all the way over here to the left flank. Speaking of... we get a nice charge off on all three of those Hellstorm rocket batteries, and we have two more knights that are were pulled out of the fight with the Graveguards, and we're going to charge them into the back of these crossbows. Meanwhile, one of the Blood Knights, the enemy lord just died. One of the Blood Knights is going to be chasing off my Paladin. This other Blood Knight is going to be trying to chase off my ally's lord because they're going to land here in just a moment. And then the third Blood Knight is going to be charging into the back of these Chaos Warriors. Just want to keep you up to date on what those three are doing, because those are the three units that I was most worried about in this battle.
Kill these men for the Uniter!
King coming down here into the crossbows, getting some fun, along with the Pegasus Knights. And you can see, without the Blood Knights in the backfield here, I am free to just rain death. Well, run death through these crossbows. So you can see here the Blood Knights are going to be chasing off the Paladin. This is when this Blood Knight group is going to be attacking my ally who landed to try and fight those Graveguard. Fate of Buna being dropped on the Blood Knights. Meanwhile, the Chaos Warriors and the Trolls are doing exceptionally well against the Graveguard and line of Swordsmen. Here comes that third Blood Knight group charging into the back of these Chaos Warriors. And at this point, most of the swordsmen are dead, and because of all the rear charges, the Empire army is in a full rout. Here we go. So these Blood Knights are going to be chasing off this ally's lord all the way to the side or the edge of the map. That's a long way to go. So... in this situation, what I was most worried about were those Blood Knights, because those three Blood Knights can literally shut down my entire army, except for maybe King Lewin and the Pegasus Knights because they're flying. But my entire army, all my knights, can be shut down by those three Blood Knights. So that's what I was worried about the most. But my enemy decides to chase off a Paladin, and they're going to devote a group of Blood Knights to chase off this Chaos Sorcerer. So as far as I'm concerned, right now, these two units are like MVPs, because they're distracting an entire knight of, or groups of Blood Knights, which, with one charge, they will destroy an entire Knights of the Realm group. One charge, that's all it takes. So because of that, I am free to just cycle charge in the back line and continually hound these retreating Empire troops. Unchallenged. Which I am so grateful for. Even my yeomen are in here, firing at, I think, Graveguard right now.
Help with arrows till they go down.
My paladin holding off 2 groups of Graveguard by himself. That's how paladins roll.
Kill the Sigmar worshippers.
Gonna get a rear charge on these Graveguard. Again, we're not being challenged by these Blood Knights, so my Knights of the Realm are having a field day right now. Some of them are continuing to chase off the Empire troops that are coming back from routing. And the one Blood Knight group that was here decided to just sit still and not cycle charge out to other targets. So they got overwhelmed by all the Chaos Warriors and Trolls, kind of like what's going to happen to this group as well. The Paladin that this group was chasing comes back to try and exact some revenge. And because of all my Knights of the Realm, the Empire army doesn't really have any chance to fully come back from routing because I'm continually hounding them with our Knights. So they've been effectively destroyed for the most part, so all we have left is the Vampire counts. And there we go. Without the leadership, the Blood Knights are going to be dying off. And the third group of Blood Knights never even got back into the battle. They chased for so long that they eventually just crumbled over here. So we were really lucky. I'm just going to say that. We were really lucky because the enemy decided to chase down the heroes. Now, I understand why you would want to. Heroes are pretty powerful. Shutting them down can give your armies leadership penalties. So it's usually not a bad idea to kill a hero, or especially a lord. But in this case, using the 3 units of Blood Knights, I think they would have been way more effective at keeping the back line of the Empire safe, because without them, I was able to shut down the 3 Hellstorm rocket batteries and 5 crossbow units. With those units intact, this could have been a widely different battle. Because if those 3 Blood Knights had stationed themselves kind of in the backfield, which is where their weak point was, I could not move my Knights of the Realm up there. I couldn't. Because if I did, I would have got charged. And all it would have taken was a couple seconds after getting charged by Blood Knights, and my Knights of the Realm would have been shattered. So I was really worried with this match when I saw those Blood Knights come out of the field. Because it's one of the few things that could shut down so many Knights so easily. Because they are geared to kill any kind of cav, really. But again, we were so lucky that they weren't used to shut me down. So MVPs are the heroes and the lords that were tying them down off, outside of the battlefield. Let's take a look at the kills here. We have the king with a high amount of kills. The damsel, I microed because I was so busy with all of the other knights. This one knight group, they saw some Blood Knights that were standing still, and they're like, hey, let's go charge them. We'll get a charge bonus off. We'll do some damage. And then they got charged, and they're like, oh, we've made a mistake. And they managed to kill one single Blood Knight for 900 gold. It's fair. I think it's fair. The rest of the army, though, just did really well. They did really well. My ally also did really well because the army that they were thrown against was a front line of swords that did not have the support of the crossbows or the Hellstorm rocket batteries for very long. So when all they had to worry about is lower tier infantry, they excelled at killing them. Kind of the same thing with the vampire counts. They threw their Graveguard and their Skeletal Warriors. Graveguard is going to do better than swordsmen, but still, Chaos Warriors are a hardy infantry group. They are no joke, and so many of them is going to be hard for even this amount of Graveguards to bring down, so that's why they didn't do as well. The Fellbats was, like, I don't know why you would bring 4. I think I would much rather just bring, like, a Vargeist. I don't know, maybe this player just really likes Fellbats, or just wanted to try them out. I wouldn't really pick them. That's my review of the Fellbats. Yeah, let's see how well did the Empire do. Oh yeah, and the poor Pistoliers that were Vanguard deployed. They because of the skirmish that I think was enabled, the skirmish AI ran them right into the corner, and they just got thrown off the field immediately. So they didn't really have any kind of time to shine. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed that battle. The Errantry Wars, I think again is what that theme was suggested or was called. Errantry Wars. It is a little different because I added these mounted yeomen. It's supposed to be just low tier knights, but maybe I'll try this again with just the Knights of the Realm and maybe a Grail Knight. But I like the idea of the king and his honor guard kind of overlooking these low tier knights to see how well they do in the field. So I really like that idea, and I like the damsel. Of course, I like the damsel because the damsel is amazing for the Bretonnians. But again, I hope you enjoy the match. I will see you all next time. Take care.